you, sir.
Right. And can I also get a phone number for you, so in case something were to occur during the trial?
Yes, sir. It's 303-880. You, sir.
And can I also get a phone number for you, so in case?
Yep, let me start again. It's 303-880-4016.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I'd only asked you once. I'm not sure why it came back again. I don't know if it's some sort of an echo thing or something, but
It was. I fixed the echo, sir. I will leave you unless you need anything further from us to begin your trial, sir.
no, I do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And good morning, everybody. This is the Arapahoe County mock trial, February 26th, session 3. I want to welcome everybody here. In a moment, we're going to get started with the trial. But first, I want to go through some things. Our Team H, are you ready for trial?
We are, Your Honor.
And Team G, are you ready for trial?
We are, Your Honor.
All right. Now, and have you provided the judge and scoring panelists with copies of your trial rosters with the team code? And I assume you have, because I believe it's on the Dropbox link. So if there's any scoring panelists who have not gotten a roster, please speak up. Okay. And I want to confirm that if video recorders are present and being used, that both teams have approved the taping of the round. And could a spokesperson for each team verify that?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay.
We
And
do, Your Honor.
okay, thank you. Now, also teams as well as gallery members, the Colorado Bar Association may be taking photographs of the competition during this round. And that team participation in the state tournament grants automatic permission and the use of these photos by the Colorado Bar Association. And I also would ask that anybody in the gallery who's not connected with teams not competing in that round, which includes student members, coaches of other schools, and there's the same school but a different team, I ask that you leave the courtroom. And no recesses will be allowed with the exception of those granted for a health emergency, and especially not between the end of a witness examination and the beginning of closing arguments. I have the discretion to stop time for technical difficulties in a virtual competition, and we had to do that yesterday. So if there's a technical difficulty like the bandwidth or something like that goes out, something like that, it will be dealt with. Now, scoring panelists, do you have any reason to believe that you're biased against either team?
No.
No, Your Honor.
No.
Right, great. Thank you. I've heard from everybody on that. Okay. And any disputes arising out of this competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules, and that your compliance with time requirements will be considered in scoring individual performances. Now, I just need to make sure that there's no coach or team member other than the timekeeper is seated in the virtual courtroom. Is that correct? Okay,
No,
each team.
I apologize, Your Honor, but I don't see our timekeeper here.
Okay, is there a timekeeper present for Team G?
We do have our timekeeper present.
For team.
I'm sorry, which team is that? This
I'm
I believe was Team G that was missing.
Sorry.
Yeah, Your Honor. TUG does not have its timekeeper currently.
Okay, is there anybody who's not an attorney or a witness on your team who can substitute as timekeeper?
I'm trying to figure out that right now, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. While you try to figure that out, we're going to go ahead and go with the rules and everything. And actually, well, wait for you to try to figure that out real quick, because the next part is where you introduce your team members.
Your Honor, I'm pretty sure we're missing a witness as well. The student's name is Shivan Sekshina.
I'm sorry, what is the name of the missing witness?
The missing witness is Blake Boncourt. And I'm pretty sure I don't see it. Or at least I don't see it. If he's here, I apologize.
Oh, the witness is here.
I don't see him, but it could be just my screen.
All right, well, hopefully you're able to get this witness here because the scoring panelists have been instructed about what to do in case there's a missing witness or a missing attorney. So have you attempted to contact the witness?
Yes, Your Honor, we're doing that right now.
Okay. All right, well, while we're waiting on those two things about a timer and a missing witness, what I'd like to do is each side to introduce your participating team members and the attorneys and the witnesses. If Team H, you're the plaintiffs, if you can go ahead and start with that.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. I'm Gavin Almoody. I will be direct examining Dakota Weirs and cross-examining Skylar Weirs.
Good morning, Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. My name is Erica Danzer, and I will be giving an opening statement, directing Carson Durst and crossing Blake Doncourt.
Right.
Good morning, Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. My name is Jason Lee, and I will be giving the closing argument as well as directing Dr. Rogers and crossing Dr. Williams. At this time, we would like to introduce our witnesses.
Please go ahead.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is John Dieter, and today I am Dakota Weirs.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Lily Gregory, and today I am Carson Durst.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Mia Garcia, and today I am Dr. Casey Rogers.
All right. And thank you very much. And Team G, if you would please go ahead and introduce your attorneys and witnesses.
Good evening, Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Joshua Holden, and I'll be directing Skylar Weirs, crossing Carson Durst, and I will be giving the opening statement.
Thank you.
Good evening, Your Honor, opposing counsel and members of the jury. My name is Francesca Bolastig and I am from Team G. Today, I'll be directing Dr. Devin Williams, crossing Miss Dakota Weirs, and will be providing the closing argument for the defense. At this time, my co-counsel will introduce himself.
Good morning, Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Kat Riashinsula, and I'll be directing Blake Doncourt and crossing Dr. Casey Rogers. At this time, our witnesses will introduce themselves.
Thank
you. Good evening. My name is Parker Ortanis, and I am Dr. Devin Williams.
Good evening, Your Honor. And I am playing Skylar Weirs. And my name is Colin Corporal.
Okay. And thank you. And I understand there's one more witness, but it may not be present. Is that correct?
Your Honor, he's on his way. He just hasn't gotten here yet.
Okay, is it given any sort of timeline on when he'll be there?
Yeah, he told me about like 5 minutes.
Okay, fine. And also, has the issue about the missing score, I'm sorry, not scorekeeper, but timer been resolved or?
Your Honor, we are trying to contact the two available timekeepers right now, and we are speaking with our coordinator about it.
Okay, thank you. All right, what I'd like to do is, and we'll take this up with the missing witness and everything on there. I'd like to go ahead and swear everybody in. Team members, if you please raise your right hands. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? Everybody can say yes?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. And with the exception of the one missing witness, if all the witnesses would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Oh, not repeat after me, but raise your right hand. Okay. And witnesses, do you promise that the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedure of the mock trial competition?
We do.
We do.
Yes, we do. Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. And gallery members, including teachers and attorney coaches, family members, and friends, if you would also raise your right hands. And do you promise to represent yourselves as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round? If you could say yes if you're present. Okay, apparently we don't have any of the above members. So, and scoring panelists, if you please go ahead and raise your right hand also. And scoring panelists, do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I've heard from one. The other two scoring panelists, if you
Yes,
would
Your
also.
Honor.
Okay. And I believe we're still missing one. So,
Your Honor, our other witness is in the waiting room.
okay, great. Okay, did all three scoring panelists swear to the oath?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so if you would, Team G, go ahead and introduce your the witness who just came in. Team G.
He is still not let in yet.
Team G, is it correct that your missing witness is now present?
No, Your Honor, he still isn't wedded.
Okay, I may have misunderstood. Who was it that just checked in with Team G? I believe somebody said that somebody had just checked in and was in the waiting room or something.
Your Honor, his name is Shivan Saxena.
Okay, and is he waiting in the room waiting to be admitted?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let me I'm gonna get a hold of.
Your Honor, Team G has a time witness that is logging onto the courtroom as we speak.
Thank you. You say that your witness is logging into the courtroom. I was trying to reach somebody when you were speaking, so I didn't quite catch what you said.
Oh, that's all right, Your Honor. Both our witness and our timekeeper are in the waiting room, waiting to be admitted.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to try to see.
You've admitted everybody in the waiting room. Does that solve the problem, sir?
Yes, it does.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Team G, let me know as soon as your timers and the witness are shown on the screen so we can swear them in.
Your Honor, Mr. Shivan is showing on the screen, but our timekeeper is still logging on.
Okay, and if you could have your witness introduce him or herself. Witness, can you introduce yourself and take and turn on your unmute yourself and also turn on your video and introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Shivan Saxena, and I'll be playing Blake Doncourt.
Sir, you were very hard to hear, so I'm not sure if it's the mask or what. And also, if you could turn your camera down a little bit, because we're just seeing you from about the nose up. Sir, and it was very difficult to hear what you said. Could you please repeat what you said, sir?
My name is Shivan Saxena, and I'll be playing Mr. Doncourt.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. And monitor, has the time scorekeepers checked in yet?
Your Honor, our timekeeper is still logging in as of the moment. He is experiencing some technical difficulties.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, Team G's timekeeper is inside the Zoom meeting.
Thank you. So I just want to confirm that all members are present of your team.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and if Mr. Shivan Saxena, if you could please come back on, because I need to swear you in.
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you could please turn on your video and.
Hello.
Mr. Shivan Saxena, are you able to turn on your video?
Your Honor, my camera is on. Right now.
Okay. So what I need you to do, sir, is I need you to raise your right hand. And do you promise that the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, and just a couple of quick housekeeping matters. For your allowed opening statements, there's 5 minutes per side for an opening statement. On direct and redirect, combined, it's a total of 25 minutes. On cross-examination and recross-examination, it's limited to 20 minutes. Now, the plaintiffs, you have a combined closing and rebuttal closing time combined of 5 minutes total. And defense, you have a closing limit of 5 minutes for your closing statement. Does everybody understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, Team H, if you're ready, you may go ahead and call your first witness.
May we bring up preliminary matters?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
We request that the stipulated facts be admitted into evidence.
Okay.
We ask that witnesses be considered constructively sequestered. We ask that admitted exhibits constructively remain on the witness stand for ease of reference. And additionally, since all of the attorneys for Team H are sharing one computer, that we have some time to switch our names, and that any time remaining in the closing be used for rebuttal.
All right. Any response from Team G?
No, Your Honor, we agree with all these preliminary matters.
Okay, and do you have any preliminary matters of your own?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so Team H, the stipulated facts will be omitted. The witnesses will be effectively sequestered. And the exhibits shall remain on the witness stand. And also you will be granted a short time period to switch the names when your people are speaking. I think that's very good to avoid confusion. All right. So if there's no other matters, everything, Team H, you may go ahead and proceed. Team H?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. I'm going to give my opening statement.
Okay, please go ahead.
We are all in such a rush these days. 1 minute you're rushing to the grocery store and all of a sudden you've forgotten your wallet. You could be rushing a trip to rushing a school assignment only to forget part of the project. You could just be in a rush because you're late. All of these things you could rush and without hurting someone. But you cannot rush poison to the market because lives hang in the balance. Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury, Lush was rushed. My name is Erica Danzer, and along with my co-counsel Jason Lee and Gavin Moody, we happily represent Dakota Weirs. We have the burden in today's case to prove by a preponderance of evidence, or more likely than not, that the defendant, Lush Fertilizer, 1, used Drufo in their product, 2, failed to exercise adequate care in reducing harm in their product, 3, Dakota Weirs was reasonably expected to use the product, and 4, Dakota's illness was due to Lush's negligence, while Dakota was reasonably using the product. And by the end of today's case, we will meet this burden. How will we meet this burden? Well, first, you'll hear from Dakota Weirs. Dakota was a young man whose life was devastated after contracting cancer. No longer can he serve at his local homeless shelter. No longer can he participate in National Honor Society. No longer can he serve as president of his student body. And no longer can he play piano, his greatest gift of all. See, ever since Dakota was a young boy, he would mash on the pedals of his grandfather's piano, and once he was tall enough, he would start mashing on the keys until he could make melodies. Unfortunately, Dakota's grandfather passed away, but Dakota continued to play in honor of his grandfather. All of these things have been lost due to his use of Drufo. Carson Durst, a former employee and researcher at Lush Fertilizer, will tell you how Lush conducted studies, found that Drufo may be carcinogenic, and didn't do anything. Over 2 decades ago, Lush heard about these carcinogenic findings, and they were asked to keep it in the walls. Lush scientists even recommended to bake Drufo, but instead, Lush rushed their product to the market without baking it. Finally, you will hear from Dr. Casey Rogers, who will talk to you about his study, which found that people who were regularly exposed to Drufo were 10 times more likely to contract cancer than those who had never been exposed. Lush will also call 3 witnesses to the stand. First, you will hear from Blake Doncourt, who will tell you that there is some risk to Drufo, and that this risk could have been eliminated had they baked their Drufo. Instead, they rushed their product to market without baking it. Skylar Weirs, a self-proclaimed expert, will tell you that he is knowledgeable than almost anyone else in the field on modern agritech. And despite having research solely done by other people, to which he cannot testify, and having no college degree, he will claim that Drufo does not cause cancer. Finally, you will hear from Dr. Devin Williams, who will tell you that Drufo is safe and any scientific research claiming otherwise is false, despite having authored no studies of his own on the carcinogenicity of Drufo. He will also tell you that when he first started at Lush, he had to fill in a role because turnover was beginning to impact testing timeliness. Lush was rushed. And by the end of today's case, we are confident that you will find in favor of Dakota Weirs. We will ask you to compensate Dakota for his loss of enjoyment of life and for his past, present, and future pain and suffering, and for the diminished lifetime that he will experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And Team G, you may present an opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, Lush Fertilizer is being accused today for being responsible for Dakota Weir's diagnosis of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a terrible and unfortunate development. Dakota Weir's has brought forth a negligence claim against Lush Fertilizer, arguing that Lush Fertilizer failed to warn its users about the dangers of its products. The evidence in this case will prove to you, the jury, that Lush Fertilizer was not negligent, and that in fact there is little to no evidence to strongly enough support for any courtroom the accusation that Drufo causes non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The prosecution argues that Lush Fertilizer failed to properly inform its customers of the dangers of Lush Fertilizer. However, this is not true, as you'll find in this case. Members of the jury, Lush Fertilizer is not to blame for Dakota Weir's development. While we express our sincerest condolences for Dakota and his family, we still hold true that Lush Fertilizer was not responsible for this development of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Lush Fertilizer's product, Drufo, can and has saved millions of lives, has employed many, many people, and is a revolutionary product. Well, we have with us today our expert, Dr. Devin Williams. He found that there has yet to be any significant statistical evidence to show that Drufo actually correlates with non-Hodgkin lymphoma or any other cancer. And in fact, the correlation with cancer is no more higher than any other fertilizer brand. Dr. Devin Williams' expert opinion was that Drufo has no clear proof saying that it has a correlation with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Secondly, we have our witness, Skylar Weirs, who is Dakota's brother. He has found that it is highly probable for companies like Terra's Greenery to want to diminish Drufo as a product for their own gain, which he has found to happen on numerous occasions in the past in the agriculture field. Third, we have Blake Donker, as CEO of Lush Fertilizer. He is here today to defend his own company from the accusations made against his company. This is a civil case, and the accusing party of Dakota Weir's must prove under Colorado law that Lush Fertilizer was actually in fact negligent and did not take the necessary steps to protect their customers, even though they did. And they have to prove to you, members of the jury, that Dakota was not responsible for it himself by not covering up his face as the boss suggested he should when working in landscaping. And they have to prove to you, members of the jury, that it was Drufo that caused non-Hodgkin lymphoma and not any other chemical product he would have been working with during his time in working in landscaping. For these reasons, after you've heard all the evidence, at the end of this trial, we will ask you return a verdict in favor of Lush Fertilizer, the defending party. Lush Fertilizer is an active contributor in the innovations behind the chemical product Drufo, which would benefit millions and provide many with jobs, on which they are so dependent. The product Drufo was not responsible for Dakota Weir's developing of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and there is in fact no evidence, no proper evidence to say it did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Team H, you may begin. You may call your first witness.
Your Honor, we call Dakota Weirs to the stand.
You may begin when you're ready.
Good evening, Mr. Weirs. I'm Gavin Moody. I'll be direct examining you this morning. Please state your full name and spell your last.
I'm Dakota Weirs, W-E-I-R-S.
Mr. Weirs, did you go to high school?
Yes, I did.
And in high school, did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
And where were you working?
I worked for Haven's Landscaping.
And what was your role at Haven?
I was a lawn care technician.
And as a lawn care technician, what were your duties?
Well, because I was younger at the time, I was primarily responsible for spreading fertilizer.
And do you recall what fertilizer was used at Haven?
Well, I know that we used many fertilizers, but I do remember that we used Lush fertilizer.
Do you know what form of fertilizer Lush comes in?
I believe it comes in an aerosol and a granular form.
When using fertilizer, did Haven require you to wear any safety gear?
They had certain recommendations for safety gear, but none of my fellow employees followed it, and Haven did not enforce their own policies, so I just followed the status quo of the company.
So did you wear any safety gear?
No, I did not.
And why is this?
Like I said, I was a minor. Everyone else was not following the rules. The company didn't enforce it. It didn't seem like that big of a deal at the time. And if I could do it all over, I would do it differently.
Mr. Weirs, do you still work for Haven?
No, I do not.
And why did you leave?
Well, my condition got to a certain point where I couldn't help around the house. So clearly I couldn't exactly work for along Haven's landscaping, which is a pretty physically demanding position.
Can you explain some of these symptoms?
Well, I started feeling nauseous and fatigued all the time. I had shortness of breath, which took my energy very low. Even though I lost a lot of weight, sometimes my abdomen would double in size, and I had swollen lymph nodes all over my body, and I bruise very easily.
Did you ever go see a doctor about your condition?
Yes, I did.
And what was the outcome of these visits?
Well, after about a year of them testing and just not really being able to find what was wrong with me, I was finally diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
And what is your understanding of this disease you have?
A non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is a form of cancer.
And where do you believe you got the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from?
I believe I got it from using Lush fertilizer at my old job.
Why do you believe it was caused by Lush fertilizer?
Well, I saw an ad that highlighted the risks that came along with Lush, specifically the cancer risk. So that sparked me and my dad to do our own research and came up with our own findings.
Mr. Weirs, were you involved in any activities before you contracted this disease?
Well, yes. Academically, I was part of National Honor Society and president of my student body government in high school. But after that, I was like outside of school. I volunteered a lot at the homeless shelter because at the time I was able-bodied and I felt obligated to give back if I was able to. And then of course, I had the job at Havens.
Mr. Weirs, did you make any plans for college?
Yes, I did. I received a full ride scholarship to my dream school, Juilliard, for my piano playing, and I was very happy about that, but I can no longer go.
And what is your status now regarding these activities?
Well, I am unemployed. I cannot go to college due to my condition, and the medical bills are just kind of piling up. So, and I can't support myself due to my unemployment. So I have to, unfortunately, ask my father to help me out with that, which just makes me feel awful. So yeah, I suppose that's my status.
Mr. Weirs, at some point, did you find a connection between Drufo, your condition, and Lush fertilizer?
Yes, I did.
And what was this connection?
Well, after the ad that I saw that highlighted the risks, we did our research and we looked at the European Union version of Lush fertilizer, their ingredients. It did not include the ingredient of Drufo. And then I got a picture of the package that I worked with over at Havens, and it did include Drufo. So I put one and one together, plus some other evidence with my twin, and I determined that Lush was the cause of my cancer.
And what did you do after you found this out?
Well, first thing I did was inform my old boss at Havens of their risk.
Did you take any other actions to find out about Lush fertilizer?
Sorry, repeat the question.
Did you take any other actions to find out about Lush Fertilizer?
Well, obviously, I did my own kind of research into the company itself, not very in-depth into the company, but I did a lot of research and looked into some studies of Drufo itself. And I also looked at my twin, Skylar, who does not have the disease, because that's how I know that it's not a genetic predisposition, because we've pretty much been raised together. We've had the exact same environments. Like majority of our lives, we've been together, aside from Havens, because Skylar is allergic to grass. So if he doesn't have it, I just have to assume I got it while working at Havens.
And Mr. Weirs, do you believe that you lost everything and got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma because of Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Weirs. That is all I have.
Any cross-examination?
Your Honor, the defense calls Mr. Dakota Weirs to the stand. I will be conducting the cross-examination from Mr. Dakota Weirs. Good morning, Mr. Weirs.
Good morning.
You are suing Lush Fertilizer
Yes, that's
For-
correct.
for causing your non-Hodgkin lymphoma illness, correct?
Yes,
You claim your non-Hodgkin lymphoma was caused by a chemical Drufo,
yes. I
which
do.
was found in Lush Fertilizer's US distributed products. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, Mr. Weirs, I would now like to talk to you about your employment history. You work at Havens Landscaping,
That's correct.
and you have been working there. You have worked there since the age of 14.
Yeah, until I quit fairly recently.
That is correct. And during this work time, you had the role as a landscaping technician at the company. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
As a landscape technician, your primary job was to spread seed and fertilizer, correct?
Yes, as I previously stated.
All right. You mentioned you did your work outside during the summertime,
Yes, I did.
even when it would get windy at times, correct?
I suppose so. Yes.
Your boss told you to wear protective equipment while using fertilizer.
Yes, but they did not enforce the rule and no one followed it.
All right, so that's a yes.
Yes, that is a yes to your question.
Equipment like pants,
Yes,
gloves,
yes.
but you didn't follow these instructions.
I was a minor. I was 17. It was just a summer job. I was trying to get some income and support myself. I had no real concern about getting cancer, so I was not really concerned about the hazard of eye irritation as listed on the package. If I could do it all over, I would. Trust me, I would. I do not want cancer.
I understand that, Mr. Weirs, so that's a yes.
Yes,
You wore shorts,
yes,
short sleeve t-shirts.
yes,
So you have been disregarding safety rules given to you by your boss.
as I previously stated, yes, we all did.
Okay. So in Exhibit 1, you did not follow the safety precautions, which was also re-emphasized by your boss.
Yes,
Your Honor, permission to share the screen so witness may view a copy of Exhibit 1.
So granted.
Your Honor, my co-counsel will share their screen as I am experiencing technical difficulties with my own. All right. Without going through its products, can you identify it?
like, would you like me to? Yes, I recognize this label. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, I recognize it.
Is it a true and correct copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the defense offers Exhibit number 1 into evidence. Its authenticity and accuracy have been shown.
Team G, any response?
No objections, Your Honor.
Sweet. Exhibit 1 will be admitted.
Okay. Permission to publish to the jury, Your Honor?
Permission is granted.
Okay. Mr. Weirs, I am showing you a copy of Lush Fertilizers packaging, which is written in every packaging of the product, marked on Exhibit 1 as user safety recommendations. Would you mind reading that to the jury?
User safety recommendations?
Yes.
Okay. As with any spray fertilizer, utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin. Use of a respirator or N95 mask is recommended. Follow manufacturer's instructions for cleaning/maintaining personal protective equipment, PPE. Users should wash hands before and after use of this product.
You didn't follow these instructions, correct?
No, I did not wear an N95 mask.
Your Honor, defense asks that we end screen sharing.
That's fine. It's your case. Proceed as you must.
Okay. All right. So my co-counsel will be removing the screen sharing of Exhibit 1. Perfect. So, Mr. Weirs, let us move on to the time frame of your sickness developing.
Okay.
You started working for the company when you were 14 years old. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Answered.
And you started feeling the symptoms of non-Hodgkin lymphoma,
Yes.
which were swollen lymph nodes,
Sorry, repeat. I'm flustered. Well, hold on. Sorry.
that's all right. And you started feeling the symptoms of non-Hodgkin lymphoma,
Yes.
which were swollen lymph nodes,
Yes.
fatigue,
Yes.
chest pains,
Yes.
and chills
Yes.
just before entering college.
Well, I have not entered college, so I guess.
Okay. You stated that the company stopped using Lush fertilizer after your 3rd or 4th year on the job.
Around that time, yes.
So you have been using fertilizers from different brands after your 3rd or 4th year at Havens Landscaping.
Yes, I only worked there for around 5 years.
But you have only felt the symptoms of non-Hodgkin lymphoma further into your landscaping technician career.
I suppose.
Perfect. Moving on to our next point. You have conducted a lot of research on Drufo, including its use in the United States. Is this correct?
That's correct.
You know that Drufo was not banned in the United States
Yes.
during the period in which you had been using Lush fertilizer.
Yes.
No further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Weirs, Mr. Weirs, did Lush recommend any other sort of safety gear?
They didn't really recommend long sleeves or anything. They just recommended the personal protective equipment and the N95 at the risk of eye irritation.
So according to Lush's report, you felt that there was no risk of you not having to wear the proper safety equipment.
I was aware of the risk of eye irritation, so I suppose there was the risk of eye irritation, but not non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Thank you, Mr. Weirs.
Any more questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And Team H, Team G, any recross?
No, Your Honor.
And may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Team H, please call your next witness, if any.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Carson Durst to the stand, and I'll take a second to change my name as well.
Thank you. Please do.
Good morning, Ms. Durst. I'm Erica Danzer, and I will be asking you some questions. Could you please introduce yourself and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Carson Durst, D-U-R-S-T.
And Ms. Durst, did you attend college?
I did. I went to Arizona State University. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Chemical Engineering.
Did you do anything after college?
I was lucky enough to be hired by Lush fertilizer.
And when you were hired with Lush Fertilizer, what did you start off by doing?
I started as an intern, but was promoted to the position of product development engineer.
And what did you develop as a product development engineer?
I worked to develop the chemical compound of Drufo.
Could you explain what Drufo is?
Yes, Drufo is a patented chemical bonding agent made by Lush to help keep its fertilizer products preserved and intact.
And when you started at Lush, I'm sure you had a relationship with some of your colleagues. Could you describe what that relationship was like?
Yes, right off the bat, it was bad. They believed I only got my job because of my relationship with the Duncourts.
And did this relationship with your colleagues change over the course of your time with the company?
Oh, it got much worse. I was even asked to sign a performance improvement plan.
How did your performance improvement plan go?
Horribly. I was relegated to jobs no one else wanted.
Did you try to talk to anyone about this plan?
Yes, I went directly to the CEO, Blake Duncourt.
And did Blake Doncourt tell you anything?
Blake did nothing. I was confused and concerned. I felt that my findings and my concerns were being ignored.
And did anything happen after the meeting?
Yes, I decided that if Lush was going to ignore my concerns over potential carcinogenics, then I was going to have to go somewhere that appreciated me and my concerns.
Were you able to find anywhere else to go?
I was. I found Terrace Greenery, and I have been working there for about 15 years now.
Why did you leave Lush?
As I previously stated, I felt my concerns over the safety of a product Lush was known for were being completely ignored.
Let's talk about your findings. Did you do research on Drufo?
I did.
And what were your findings?
I found a study from England that proved the particular chemical compound in Drufo was carcinogenic in rats.
Did you bring your concerns to anyone?
Yes, to my manager, Jerry Langley.
And what did Miss Langley do with your findings?
Well, she usually compiles all of the findings from all the scientists in one notebook and takes it to the higher ups. What happened after that was above my pay grade at the time.
Did Lush conduct any studies of their own on Drufo?
Yes, they did.
And what were the findings of these studies?
Well, they were communicated to me in an email.
Your Honor, the plaintiffs moved to present what has previously been marked as Exhibit 4 to the witness and opposing counsel.
Okay. Any response to the motion?
No, Your Honor.
It will be admitted, and I apologize, I didn't catch the exhibit number.
Exhibit 4, Your Honor.
Okay, exhibit 4 is admitted. You may continue.
Could we have our timekeeper, Miss Peters, please present it on the screen?
That's granted, so.
One moment. Is this the same email you received, Miss Durst?
Yes, it is. It's the email sent by Jerry Langley.
And you are in fact on this email?
I am.
And this email has not been altered in any way from the one that you received?
No, it has not.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves to admit what has previously been marked as Exhibit 4 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated and its accuracy has been shown.
Okay, I apologize. I jumped the gun a moment ago. Team G, any comment on the admission of this exhibit 4?
No, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 4 will be admitted. Thank you.
Ms. Durst, could you please read the first and second sentences of paragraph 2?
Yes, of course. Following our lab's June Drufo study, concerns have arisen regarding generalized findings of potential carcinogenic qualities identified in samples produced during a period early in the year. So, we are reinitiating the study in the coming weeks with fresh product samples.
Thank you, Ms. Durst. We no longer need this screen shared, and at this time, Your Honor, may I have the court's permission to publish what is Exhibit 4 to the jury?
Exhibit 4 will be published.
Now, Ms. Durst, after Lush sent out this email that Drufo may be carcinogenic, did they do any further research?
Oh, yes, they did, about a few months later.
And were the findings of this further research communicated to you?
Yes, all of the upper echelon managers called us into a meeting.
Objection leading.
I simply asked if there was a meeting, or sorry, I asked if there was anything further that happened after the meeting. Or no, sorry. Is the judge on?
I was about to ask the same thing. I don't think I see him.
You may be muted.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of streaming issues. I did not catch what the objection was.
The objection was leading. She asked specifically the witness if anything happened at that meeting, I believe.
Right, and response?
I'm only asking if anything. I'm not assuming that anything happened at the meeting.
Okay, the objection will be overruled. And just for everybody's information, I'm starting to have some computer problems, so that's why I'm taking myself off a video to help with the
Okay.
stream. But I am here, so thank you.
Okay. May I repeat the question?
Please.
Did anything happen at this meeting?
Well, all the upper echelon managers called us into a meeting room, and one scientist brought up the fact that they had in fact found Drufo to be carcinogenic in humans. Not only that, but potentially being linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
And what did the upper echelon that called the meeting have to say about this, if anything?
Well, Alex Monroe, one of our managers, said we should keep this finding in the walls until we figure out what we're doing.
So you were asked to keep your findings that Drufo may be carcinogenic in the walls?
Yes, that is correct.
And did anything further happen after this meeting?
Yes, about a month later, a study was done by Lush scientists themselves that released
Objection
information.
vague.
Please proceed with your objection.
I'm asking her, oh, sorry.
There's an objection made, but I just want clarification on what the objection is, please.
The objection was vague just because it was just asking like what happened after this meeting.
Okay, and
Did
response?
anything else happen at this meeting?
I'm asking her if anything else came after the meeting. I can rephrase if that's necessary.
Well, I'll overrule the objection because as it can lead to relevant evidence. So please proceed.
Okay. Did anything come after this meeting?
Yes, a new study was found by Lush scientists themselves that baking Drufo would eliminate any possibility at all of there being any carcinogenic qualities to Drufo.
And did the company have a response to these studies?
Well, despite the suggestion coming from Lush scientists themselves, it was framed in such a way that made it seem like eliminating that cancer risk by baking was something that the company would be going above and beyond to do.
Thank you, Ms. Durst. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed.
All right. Sorry, I just want to set my timer up. Ms. Durst, you began your career working with Lush Fertilizer in 2003, correct?
That's correct.
The company Lush Fertilizer was founded by Blake Donker, is this correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Durst, is it true that you in fact had connections with the Dunkerts?
I'm sorry, that Blake had connections with the Duncourts? He is the father of the Duncourt
No,
family.
true. Sorry. Is it true that you had in fact connections with the Dunkerts?
Yes, I was best friends with Blake's son.
Charles, correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Durst, when looking for a job, is it true that Charles assured you that Blake would quote unquote pull some strings for you?
Yes, he did.
And then Blake hired you?
Blake did. Well, actually, I was offered an internship first before I was hired.
And you got a position that you yourself considered hard to come by for new graduates with no experience like yourself, correct?
Yes, and I was a very hard worker. I feel I had proved my worth.
Ms. Durst, is it true that Blake Donker overlooked applicants who were Ivy League graduates in favor of you?
Yes, that is correct.
Argumentative?
A response?
No, Blake, I'm looking at the affidavit. Blake revealed to Ms. Durst that he overlooked Ivy League graduates.
In response?
It's implying that Miss Durst is not qualified and assuming that she's unqualified.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and overrule the objection and allow the questioning.
And you were not even at the top of your class. Is this correct, Ms. Durst?
Well, hey now, I was still in my class. Just because I'm not at the top doesn't mean I'm any less qualified.
All right, well, so let's move on to your contract agreement with Lush Fertilizer, Ms. Durst. Ms. Durst, after being fired from Lush Fertilizer, you were then moved to Terra's Greenery, correct?
Yes, and I feel like I am treated actually correctly there and my concerns have been listened to.
When applying to Terra's Greenery, is it true that you thought it would, quote, simply get Blake's goat, quote, or in other words, it would irritate him?
Why, yes, he had completely ignored my concerns and not only put me in danger, but his customers as well.
So you applied to Terra's Greenery to irritate him, in your own words,
Yes.
correct?
And because I wanted to be valued and I wanted my concerns to not be ignored.
Ms. Durst, when you first started at Lush Fertilizer, you signed a contract, correct?
I didn't remember it at the time, but I did.
So that's a yes.
That's a yes.
But by that point, Ms. Durst, you were then fired from Lush. When you were fired from Lush Fertilizer, you were then hired by Terra's Greenery, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
A response?
It's a question asking when fired from Lush, you were hired by Terra's. The previous question was when fired, you then moved. I'm asking specifically when she was fired, she had already been hired. That wasn't the first question.
Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection. You may answer it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Durst.
Can you repeat the question?
By that point, when you were fired from Lush Fertilizer, you were then hired by Terra's Greenery.
I was.
And the contract. Your Honor, permission to screen share a copy of Exhibit 5, the contract.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will share my screen. All right, can everyone see this all right? All right, lovely. Ms. Durst, without going into its contents, please identify the exhibit.
This is the non-compete agreement that I apparently did sign, but didn't remember signing.
Is it an accurate and authentic copy?
I believe so.
It's a yes or a no?
That's a yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, we offer Exhibit 5 into evidence. Its authenticity and accuracy has been shown. Permission to publish virtually to the jury, Your Honor?
Well, first, go to the admission. Any response about the request to admit the Exhibit 5?
I believe it's an objection to hearsay.
Right. And response?
It's not. It was just showing the contract.
That's an out-of-court statement being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. I believe that is hearsay.
Could you elaborate? Sorry.
The objection will be overruled. It will be admitted. So
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Durst, under the contract, Section 1, you were in fact, by Colorado law, supposed to wait 2 years before joining any competitor under this contract. This is correct.
I believe this non-compete agreement has already been settled in court several years ago, actually. I don't see how it's relevant anymore.
Ms. Durst, politely, could you answer my question? You were supposed to wait 2 years before joining a competitor. Is this correct?
I was, but this has already been settled in court.
You did not wait 2 years before joining Terrace Greenery. Yes or no?
I did not, but this has been settled in court.
I am aware of that. Lush Fertilizer
was the one who settled it. Lush themselves.
I would like to just ask my question, sorry. Lush Fertilizer and Terrace Greenery are clearly competitors against each other. Is this correct?
Yes, they are, but it's my field of business. Why would I go work somewhere else?
Under the contract, you are not to indirectly or directly engage in any competitive business. Is this correct? Under Section 1.
That's correct, but this has already been settled in court.
So whether settled or not, did you break your very own contract?
Yes, but it has been settled in court.
Your Honor, permission to end screen sharing.
So granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Finally, Ms. Dunkert, I would like to talk about,
I'm sorry, Ms. Duncourt.
oh, excuse me, sorry. Ms. Durst, pardon me. Ms. Durst, you began your career working with Lush in 2003, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Response?
I believe you're correct, actually. I apologize to the court.
Okay. Okay, the objection will be sustained.
Okay. In 2003, Ms. Durst, part of your job was to explore the chemical compounds of Indrufo, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And from this, you found a study from England that analyzed rats, correct?
That's correct.
The study, however, did not at all explore the effects found in humans, correct?
No, but rats are biologically similar to humans. That's why they are tested.
The study then only concluded that the chemical compound may be carcinogenic in rats, not humans, correct?
Yes, but in science, there are many variables to consider.
But by using the word may, it is not for definite proof that the chemical compound was carcinogenic in rats, correct?
Yes, but it's not definite unproof either.
The study did not show any adverse effects the chemical compound had in humans, correct?
Again, humans weren't studied, but they are biologically similar to rats.
Sorry, Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Ms. Durst, you discussed a little bit about your non-disclosure agreement in your cross, is that correct?
That's correct.
And has this NDA been settled?
Yes, well over a decade ago. It hardly has any legal relevance anymore.
And it mentioned that you needed to not work for a competitor for 2 years. Was this the time that you weren't working for your competitor?
No, Lush itself agreed that I should only wait 6 months before going to work for Terrace.
Thank you, Ms. Durst. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any recross?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
And may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Team H, please call your next witness, if any.
Your Honor, at this time, defense would like to call Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand.
Right.
And may I take a moment to change my name?
Yes, please.
Okay. May I begin?
Anytime you're ready. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jason Lee, and I will be asking you a few questions today. Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Dr. Casey Rogers. That's Rogers.
Dr. Rogers, did you attend school?
I did. I obtained a PhD in agriculture and entomology at the University of California at Berkeley. And I also have a Bachelor of Science in agriculture and chemistry from Colorado State University.
And are you currently employed?
I am currently employed as a professor in horticulture and entomology at UC at Berkeley.
And as a professor and a PhD, would you have any published works or a curriculum vitae?
That is correct. I do.
Your Honor, at this time, plaintiff would like to screen share what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7 for authentication purposes.
Please do.
Dr. Rogers, do you recognize the exhibits which are in front of you?
I do. This is a copy of my CV and a list of my research publications.
And were these documents prepared by you?
Yes, they were.
And you prepared them in the course of in the course of being a professor and a PhD?
Yes, that is correct.
And they are complete depictions of these documents?
Yes, they are.
And they are accurate?
They are accurate.
And they have not been modified in any way?
No, they have not.
And if you did have anything new that you needed to add, you would have added that immediately?
Yes, that is correct.
Your Honor, the plaintiff would like to admit what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7 into evidence. Their authenticity has been stipulated and accuracy has been shown.
Any objection? Any response to the motion to admit?
I apologize, Your Honor. My Zoom was glitching. No, Your Honor.
Thank you. No problem. I think we're all experiencing that today. Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7 shall be admitted. Thank you.
Dr. Rogers, could you please tell me your degrees and positions held?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and Chemistry, and I also have a PhD in Agriculture and Entomology. I have previously worked as a research analyst for a multi-international chemical company.
Are you currently employed now?
Yes, as I said
Objection,
before,
asked and answered.
Response?
Your Honor, I will rephrase.
Thank you. The objection is sustained.
Doctor, are you currently employed as like a teacher or a professor in any capacity?
I am employed as a professor in horticulture and entomology.
What is horticulture and entomology?
Well, horticulture is the study of plants, and it's like gardening and management, and entomology is the study of insects. So what I do is I particularly look at how pesticides and fertilizers affect both plants and insects.
And do you have any published works?
I do. I have a list of research publications as well as a published study.
Your Honor, permission to publish what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7 to the jury.
That's granted.
Dr. Rogers, do you know what DRUFO is? I do. DRUFO is a bonding agent that was made by Lush Fertilizer, and it is used to preserve their fertilizer. It is crucial in all of their products, and it's available, or no, let me rephrase. It is present in all their products.
And do you have any previous experience with DRUFO?
I do. As I stated before, I have a published study, and my research publications focus on the effects of human exposure to DRUFO.
Your Honor, at this time, plaintiff tenders Dr. Casey Rogers as an expert in the fields of agriculture, chemistry, and DRUFO research.
Any response?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Dr. Casey is so admitted as an expert. And you may continue.
Doctor, do you know what DRUFO is?
Yes.
Answered.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe my previous question was, do you know what DRUFO is? In this question, I'm asking what DRUFO is.
The objection will be overruled. You may proceed.
Dr. Rogers, do you know what DRUFO is?
I do.
Do you, what is DRUFO?
Oh, well, as I stated previously, it is a bonding agent found in all of Lush Fertilizer's products.
Have you determined the chemical structure of DRUFO?
Yes, I have.
Does it contain nitrogen?
Yes, it contains.
Objections leading question.
A response?
Your Honor, I simply asked if it contains nitrogen. I did not assume that it does.
The objection is sustained. Please rephrase the question.
Doctor, is nitrogen contained in DRUFO?
Yes, it is. It contains nitrates, which are a form of DRUFO, form of nitrogen contained in DRUFO. Sorry.
And are nitrates known to be dangerous?
In high levels, which they are in fertilizer, they can be toxic.
Was DRUFO known to be hazardous?
Yes, in the EU, it is already known that DRUFO is carcinogenic in rats.
Did you personally run any studies on the effects of DRUFO?
I did. I ran a study on 3 groups of people three groups of people based on their exposure to Drufo. I have a control group, and I have a second group with moderate Drufo exposure, and I have a third group of farm laborers who have a high exposure to Drufo.
Did you obtain any results from that study?
Yes, I did. The farm laborer group was shown to have higher rates and risks of contracting cancer and other diseases based on their high exposure to the chemical Drufo.
What were the results of that study?
As I stated previously, the farm laborers had a higher risk of contracting cancer and other diseases.
Were there any particular types of cancer that exposure to Drufo caused?
Yes, I found that exposure to Drufo caused specifically non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
What is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
While non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is a specific type of cancer that attacks the white blood cells found in the body, which in turn compromises the immune system.
What causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is purely environmental, and it's non-genetic in any way, shape, or form. It cannot be contracted from person to person.
Did Dakota Weirs have similar exposure to Drufo as the members of your study?
Yes, I believe that he has.
Doctor, is it common for you to obtain records from other experts to learn about a client's condition?
Yes, in this case, I obtained records from Dakota Weirs' doctor regarding his condition.
And based on your analysis of those records, does Dakota Weirs have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
I believe he does have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. As we speak, it is currently metastasizing throughout his body, which means it is creating other cancers in other places of his body.
Based on your study on the effects of Drufo and Mr. Weirs' environmental conditions, what is your opinion on the cause of Mr. Weirs' non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
I believe that the cause of his non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is due to his high exposure to the chemical Drufo.
Would baking Drufo have eliminated that risk of causing cancer?
Baking Drufo would eliminate all risk of it being potentially carcinogenic, as it is carcinogenic.
Does Lush bake Drufo?
Lush does not bake their Drufo or any of their fertilizer products.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good. Good morning, Dr. Casey Rogers.
Good morning.
As you said in your statement or testimony, you are currently employed at Histoculture and Entomology Department in University of California, Berkeley.
That is correct.
And you have a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and Chemistry?
Yes, I do.
And a PhD in Agriculture and Ethnology?
Yes.
But you're not a medical doctor.
No, I am not, but I obtained.
No, that's enough. But you're a doctor, but you're a bug doctor.
I have a doctorate.
Entomology is a study of insects, yes?
Yes, it is.
And you have a PhD in it.
I'm sorry, can you say your statement again, or your question again? I can't hear you.
And you have a PhD in entomology?
Yes, I do.
So in that case, you are a bug doctor. Moving on. For this, what you study is prolonged effects of chemicals, including Drufo, yes?
Yes, that is correct.
And in your experiment, other chemicals were experimented in a similar manner, yes?
Yes, I also experimented with different types of herbicides.
Obviously, you're not using the same people, but it's similar in a way of control and experimental group, depending on how much they were exposed, yes?
I only did one study. These are actually part of my research publications.
So we can't compare your results to other chemicals and see which ones are dangerous or not? Which are more dangerous than others?
That's not in my statement. Would you still like me to answer the question?
Yes, I do. I mean, you're an expert in this.
Can you restate it, please?
So can we compare by your statement that by your previous answer, we cannot directly examine the results of previous chemicals that you tested and compare it to Drufo in order to see how much more dangerous it compared to other chemicals used in agriculture. Yes?
No, we cannot.
Question calls for speculation.
Response.
Well, Your Honor, I ask you allow will of the weight instead of disability. He is the doctor is an expert witness and has supposedly done other chemical testing and experiments.
I will overrule the objection. This information may be relevant. So I'll overrule the objection for now. You may proceed.
Okay. Dr. Casey Rogers, do other chemicals cause cancer?
Well, certainly if they're used improperly.
Well, okay. Back to this experiment. The Drufo experiment was not peer reviewed. Yes?
No, it is not.
Your experimental group consists of farmers and gardeners. Yes?
Yes, that is correct. That is also one of the target audiences for Lush Fertilizers products.
And during the experiment, were they exposed to other chemicals like toxic bug spray?
That's not in my statement. Would you still like me to answer that?
Yes, I do. It's regards to their occupation.
Well, I mean, in that case, they were most likely only subjected to Drufo, as that was what my experiment was on.
But their occupation related to fertilization of plants.
This is a specific group of people.
Yes or no?
Have been exposed to or used any other.
Yes or no? They were exposed to other. Their occupation was related to fertilization of plants.
Objection, argumentative.
I'm asking.
Response.
I'm asking you about the specifics of the experiment, since as previously mentioned that the people that were in the experiment were farm laborers and workers, meaning that their occupation was fertilization of plants.
I'm going to go ahead and sustain the objection. Please move on.
Okay. Which, Dr. Casey Rogers, does fertilization of plants require a lot of chemicals?
Not necessarily. The upkeep of many plants does, though, however, because pesticides and herbicides are not.
Yes is okay. So then, because of that, could any other chemical been the result of cancer?
I'm going to say no, simply because fertilizer in its own is different, and it's unknown if Dakota Weir's worked with products like.
That's a yes is enough.
Pesticides.
Dr. Casey Rogers, previously you said that other chemicals can cause cancer. So then, technically, could other chemicals cause cancer in this experiment as well?
I'm sorry, can you restate your question in a different way?
Previously, I asked you if other chemicals cause cancer. You said yes. And now I'm asking you, could other chemicals in the environment cause the cancer spike in your research?
I experimented with Drufo. I'm not sure why you would like to know about the properties of other chemicals.
Well, they could influence your results, yes?
This was a controlled experiment.
But the environment cannot control. Can you?
There are not naturally found chemicals in the environment, such as pesticides.
Wood dust, mineral oils, indoor emissions are all things that can cause caused
Time is
cancer.
according to our timekeeper.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't hear the last. Oh, you're out of time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Honor.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Dr. Rogers, did you see any of Dakota Weir's medical records?
I did. I obtained them from his doctor.
And Drufo, according to your study, is known to be carcinogenic.
Yes, it is. it poses a threat as being carcinogenic.
So would the effects of other fertilizers really matter?
Not necessarily, because Drufo itself is high in nitrogen, which is the cause for the toxicity and the carcinogenicity.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor, but in the chat, I was notified that my direct witness, Blake Doncourt, played by Chauvin, was disconnected and he's trying to reconnect again due to internet problems.
Okay, so does the plaintiff rest?
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff rests.
Okay. And Team G, is this witness who's trying to log on, is that your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, are you able to proceed with any of your other witnesses prior to this one?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm asking if, as this is your first witness and they're having trouble logging on, are you able to proceed initially with either your second or your third witness, and then we go back to this first witness?
I believe
No, Your Honor, I don't believe so. I don't think so, but we can contact the team. Sorry.
He is rejoining now, Your Honor. Or attempting.
Okay, let me know when he's in and you're ready, so.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I believe Skylar Weir is ready to be directed.
Okay, Team G, you may call your first witness when you're ready.
Okay. Your Honor, we call Skylar Weir to the stand.
And you may proceed when you're ready, so.
Yeah, if Skylar Weir could turn his camera on.
My camera.
He has. All right. Good evening, Mr. Weirs.
Good evening.
Could you please state your name and spell out your last name for the court?
My name is Skylar Veers, spelled W-E-I-R-S.
And you want? Okay. What is your relationship with Dakota Weirs?
She is my twin sister.
Could you please inform the court of your occupation?
I'm an investigative journalist and I work for a scientific magazine called Rationalist, and I work part-time at Applebee's.
What is The Rationalist?
Well, the magazine I write for, The Rationalist, is a scientific education and advocacy magazine that questions skepticism in media.
What does it go against?
It promotes questioning standard science, and we encourage readers to ask intellectual questions about science.
Where does The Rationalist originate from?
The Rationalist is a non-profit organization that seeks to promote science.
What do you do at The Rationalist?
I am a scientific magazine writer chosen to write a series of articles on modern agriculture technology, specifically about Drufo, which is the topic of this case.
What specifically have you written in particular?
I authored an article which called into question the idea that there is a causal link between Drufo and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
What other instances of this have been found?
Well, from my almost a year of studying, I've seen it time and time again, the effects of chemicals such as Drufo being misrepresented in an attempt to diminish their success.
What companies have interest in targeting Lush?
In this case, Lush Fertilizer has been targeted by the agri-tech sectors, whose entire business is threatened by Lush Fertilizer's patent breakthrough product, Drufo. Additionally, by greedy lawyers and doctors who seek out money from this case.
Has this happened before?
Yes, many times before, products have been misrepresented in order to prevent them from revolutionizing the industry.
Could you provide any examples of this occurring?
This happened when Monsanto was basically about to monopolize the market for corn seed genomics and herbicides, such industries which account for approximately $15 billion in revenue, To protect their industries, competitors launched one of the largest PR campaigns in history, claiming that the product was harmful, even though there was only benefits shown.
Was this product good?
Yes, it was very good. It led to, if I recall correctly, a 22% increase in crop yield and a 37% decrease in pesticide use. The product could have helped to decrease world hunger, but it was destroyed.
So who now suffers from this PR campaign?
Impoverished farmers in Africa and India are now hesitant to adopt GM crops in other areas of the world. 800 million people suffer from malnutrition, when a lot of this could have been prevented through these revolutionary products.
So if mass starvation and people dying could have been prevented, why then was this PR campaign launched?
Similar businesses and other individuals who could lose money if such innovative products took hold launched this campaign because they wanted to protect their money and their products.
Okay, so more about the connection between GMO and Drufo. Mr. Weirs, if GMO and Drufo are similar, what problem would Drufo solve?
Yes, first of all, Drufo will allow farmers to reclaim millions, I believe up to 153 million acres of land that has become ineligible for them to use. It also prevents the need for synthetic nitrogen, which has actually been connected to cancer from being put into soil, which when rain occurs, soaks into the soil and into rainwater.
So what are the harms of the other aforementioned pesticides?
Well, arsenic is carcinogenic and glyphosate are possibly carcinogenic to humans, as categorized by the International Agency for Research on Cancer.
Which with Drufo is prevented, which is prevented by Drufo, correct?
Yes, the danger to humans are prevented with Drufo.
Then what may have caused your brother's case of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Well, because of Dakota's job, Dakota was working with harmful chemicals on a regular basis without ensuring that she was wearing proper safety gear. There was also the fact that Dakota was exposed to a whole host of other products.
Gendering.
Sorry, what was the objection?
Misgendering.
Response?
It was a simple misgender, and we apologize to Dakota. We do understand that he is a he, and we apologize sincerely to this court for misgendering, but we don't believe it takes away from this case.
Objection sustained. Please try to keep them straight next time. Thank you. You may continue.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Weirs?
There was also the fact that Dakota was being exposed to a whole host of other products, which did contain carcinogenics, which may have been what caused his cancer.
So who would you say is most responsible for your brother's sickness?
Well, the ownership of Haven's Landscaping for having teenage workers work without proper safety protections.
So moving back to you, Mr. Weirs, why did you feel the need to speak in favor of Lush fertilizer?
Yes, despite the picture that has been painted by many different people on why I'm testifying against my brother, I truly want justice to be served for him. But that won't occur if Lush Fertilizer is responsible for paying a settlement, as they actually helped him by lessening her exposure to harmful products.
Lastly, why should the jury have trust in someone who, as your brother puts it, quote, has written all sorts of articles about UFOs, flat earth theory, and anti-vaxxer? Are they all right for anything? Are they right anything for a price?
I completely disagree with those articles being used to discredit me. I write about what I believe in, to question common narratives. I've never allowed money or my image to get in the way of writing towards my beliefs.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Weirs. My name is Gavin Almoody. I'll be cross-examining you this morning.
Thank you.
Mr. Weirs, you write for the Rationalist Society, correct?
Yes.
And the Rationalist Society focused on promoting scientific skepticism, as you stated earlier.
Well, they favor taking skepticism out of.
This skepticism is on heavily politicized topics such as commercial agriculture, right?
Yes.
And vaccines?
Of course.
And climate change.
Yes.
You were picked by your editor to write a series of articles, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you didn't provide any of these articles for the trial, did you?
I did not provide any of these articles for the trial. Yes.
You have no work to show to the jury, do you?
Not at this time.
You'd consider yourself to be very well versed in modern agritecture, right?
Yes.
In fact, nobody has a better perspective on modern agritecture than the USDA and the NSDA, right?
Well, yes. I have a great perspective, but no one has a better perspective than them.
You never went to college, did you?
I did not go to college.
And you never told us what studies you actually researched, did you?
Not specifically in my affidavit.
You never received any specialized training.
I did not receive specialized training.
And you did not review the international studies of Lush Fertilizer or any other fertilizer company, did you?
Well, I used outside research to form my opinions on this and my facts.
Is that a yes, Mr. Weirs?
Sure.
You mentioned that you didn't go to college because it was not financially smart, correct?
Yes,
Now let's talk about financial literacy. You've been sports betting for years, correct?
I have.
And you're currently in a hole that you're struggling to get back out of.
Yes, that is why I work at Applebee's.
And so if I'm correct, you're a greeter at Applebee's?
I believe so.
Your parents also stopped. Your parents also stopped helping you pay off your medical bills or your gambling debts, correct?
After my mother died, my father stopped paying off my gambling debts. Yes.
Because your family is going to be spending a significant amount of money on your twins' treatment, correct?
Well, if this case is not successful.
So if I'm correct, you, as a part-time server who wrote a series of articles that were never seen, are testifying in court on behalf of a major corporation, correct?
Well, my articles have been seen by the people who have read them, and I am testifying not on behalf of the company, but on behalf of the product Trufo.
So is that a yes?
I'm testifying in favor of the defense, but I'm not testifying specifically for Lush.
Mr. Weirs, were you not hired to testify in court for Lush Fertilizer?
Well, yes, I'm speaking in favor of this product.
But were you not hired? You were hired by Lush, correct?
I've been hired to speak on in behalf of them, yes.
So then you are testifying on behalf of a major corporation.
Technically, yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Weirs, how long have you studied this topic?
For over a year.
Okay, so thank you. Mr. Weirs, lastly, why are you a credible source for this court case today?
Because I've done a lot of research and I've been utilizing great data from different sources like the EPA and other organizations.
And you do write for a scientific journal, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Your Honor, no further questions.
Any recross?
Mr. Weirs, but Mr. Weirs, we never saw any of these studies.
Well, you haven't seen any of my work in this courtroom today.
And your studies we're only looking at internal studies of Lush and no other outside sources.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Weirs. No further questions.
Thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And Team G, please card your next witness.
Your Honor, permission to enter Blake Doncourt to stand.
Yes, please. And you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Good morning. Could you please state your name and spell out your last for the jury?
Blake Doncourt, Doncourt.
And tell us about yourself.
Well, I am the CEO of Lush Fertilizer, where we focus on the future of fertilizers with cutting edge technology. I'm very passionate about issues involving the environment. In fact, I was nominated by the United Nations as a champion of the earth in 2020. And I'm proud to announce that 10% of our business profits indeed does go to charities.
And how long have you been the CEO?
Since 2000.
And what's the name of the product in question?
Drufo. It's our most selling fertilizer, and all of our products has been intensely researched and tested before it went out to the market through our own people and the EPA. We care for every fertilizer that it's out with.
Oh, that's good. Prior to this incident, have there ever been reports that Drufo is carcinogenic to humans?
Like any successful brand, many so-called scientists have risen up with the claim that Drufo is dangerous. However, like this time, I've yet to see any actual scientific proof that our products are dangerous in the means of a published scientific journal or an official study or actual professionals, not money-grabbing people who prefer to scam from big companies, using vulnerable people.
Can you elaborate on the money grabbing people part?
Yes, CEOs and other people in power always have a reputation of being money hungry or whatever. Unfortunately, I met people in similar positions to me like that.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, for example, my ex Morgan spent all of my hard-earned money when we were married, like a classic gold digger, and I worked hard building Lush Fertilizer to the company that it is today. And there is no happy ending to the story, as our courts are unjustly forcing me to pay alimony, but it's not as much, and I still have extra left to clean our oceans. I'm not like that. I would never put money over safety.
Oh, good. Then why don't you bake your products if you had the money for it?
While I do categorize myself as a thoughtful and considerate person, I am still a businessman who has investors to please in order to keep Lush Fertilizer a successful business, which it is. And after many tests and high and thoughtful consideration, I decided that Drufo does not need to be baked. Drufo doesn't need baking to be safe, so why should we?
And can you explain your thoughtful considerations?
In 2003, I created a chart talking about how much our money loses on baking our products. And through my own calculations, the company would increase profits by 6% the first year and an additional 2% the following years. I also took into consideration the fact that the risk of our company, those products being carcinogenic so little that it simply wasn't worth it. I mean, we don't put warning labels on apples warning about their seeds containing cyanide and they're having a small chance of cyanide poisoning, right?
You're right. And let the record that opposing counsel has been previously provided with a copy of Exhibit 8. Your Honor, I should share my screen with Exhibit 8.
Please do so.
Hold on. Here it is. Mr. Doncourt, without going into detail, could you identify Exhibit 8?
Yes.
And is this the true and original? Is this copy true to the original?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to enter Exhibit 8 into evidence.
Any response?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 8 will be admitted.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Doncourt, what is Exhibit 8?
This is the chart I made in 2003 regarding the profits if Lush doesn't bake our products. This is something businesses don't disclose at all due to competition. And this doesn't show the amount of hours of research my team did testing Drufo, making sure it's the safest it can be.
Thank you. Your Honor, permission to unshare our screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask you about your opinion on Dakota Weers.
I do genuinely hope all the best for Dakota, and I'm so sorry she got taken advantage of by people like Carson, who see this case only as a way to put Lush Fertilizer down, while promoting his current employer, Tara's Greenery, and their new product that he stole from my company.
tell me more about Carson Durst.
Carson was an employee of Lush Fertilizer in the research and development team. He was fired from what I hear. He was fired and then, from what I hear, began to work for Terrace Greenery. Ironically, I heard that in the past, it cut costs on their workers and lack ethics there in general. Honestly, I'm severely offended by this highly paid so-called professional, AKA a criminal.
Well, may you elaborate?
Argumentative?
How
A response?
is that argumentative?
No, a response, please.
From me or Miss, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Call me Cat. Your Honor, who's the response to me?
Yes, because the other attorney objected that this was argumentative.
How could it be argumentative? I didn't ask him. I just asked him his opinion on Carson Durst. It wasn't anything. Sorry.
Okay, are you asking me a question, or are you saying it was not argumentative?
It was not argumentative, as I asked Mr. Donkert about Carson Durst, and he brought up the fact that he accuses him of being a criminal.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection. You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. May you elaborate on the criminal accusation?
Well, Terrace Greenery now is suspiciously coming out with a new fertilizer that's quite similar to ours, except it's stating it's safer and carcinogenic free. I won't be surprised if Carson violated his NDA by making his product and then using Poor Dakota to justify, more like cover up his criminal activity, as Carson did sign our ironclad non-disclosure agreement, which I'm planning on suing for. He has been accused of breaching it before.
Let the record that the opposing counsel has been previously provided with the copy of Exhibit 5. Your Honor, permission to share screen with Exhibit 5.
You may share it.
Let me scroll to it and make sure it's the right way. Okay. Let the record show that Exhibit 5 has been already entered into evidence. Now, Mr. Doncourt, could you please read the second statement that I highlighted for you?
Yes, non-disclosure covenant. The employee will not at any time or in any manner, either directly or indirectly, divulge, disclose, reveal, or communicate any trade secret belonging to Lush or any third party, including but not limited to any competitor of Lush.
Yes, and right here with the protected party, is this are the two signatures yours and Carson's?
Yes, that is Carson's signature and that is my signature.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to unshare my screen.
So granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. So, yeah, no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Doncourt. I'm Erica Danzer, and I'll be asking you some questions. You brought up that you have gone through a very stressful divorce, yes?
I wouldn't call it stressful. I'm more a little upset at first, but I've gotten over it.
And this divorce has cost you money?
It has.
And you need money at your company to pay your employees, like Carson Durst, who is leaving?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You needed money to pay employees like Carson Durst from leaving?
I didn't need money. I had, as I mentioned previously, I had enough money to cover for myself and my employees.
Let's talk about Carson Durst. You signed an NDA with him, correct?
That's correct.
And there was a court settlement many, many years ago to settle your NDA?
Yes.
And you settled for 6 months before he could work for Terrace Greenery.
Yes.
Let's talk about your product. Drufo is incredibly effective, yes?
Yes.
And it's a product that allows Americans to grow green grass,
Yes.
green grass of the American dream.
Yes.
And now, not only is your product effective, but it's safe, yes?
Pardon? What do you mean by defective?
It's effective and safe,
Oh,
yes?
yes, it is effective and safe. Yes.
And that's because safety is a top priority for your company.
Yes.
And that includes safety for your consumers, yes?
Of course.
Your Honor, we would like to pull what is Exhibit 1 up, considering that it's already been admitted into evidence.
Permission granted.
Could we get Exhibit 1, please? Oh,
Objection not part of testimony.
it looks like we're experiencing some technical difficulties.
There was an objection there, but it was a little bit muffled. I was not able to hear what the objection was.
Exhibit 1 was not in Blake Doncourt's testimony or statement.
A response?
It might not have been directly in his statement, but it's relevant to the case. It's his own product. Surely Blake would know about his own product.
The Exhibit 1 has previously been admitted. Either side may use Exhibit 1 as they feel need fit, so subject to the rules of evidence. The objection is overruled.
Mr. Doncourt, would you please direct your attention to the hazards section?
Yeah.
Follow along as I read out loud. Caution, causes eye irritation. Avoid contact with eyes of clothing. Did I read that correctly, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes.
You don't have any recommendation for eye protection on your label, do you?
For eye protection on our label,
Yes.
I do believe it says that protective clothing covers that exposes. It says personal protective equipment should be worn. That could include a face mask.
But you have no explicit direction to wear eye protection?
Yes.
And you have no warning for your product being used indoors?
No warning for my product to be used indoors.
Yes.
That's true.
And let's direct your attention over to the ingredients section. Drufo is the first ingredient, yes?
Yes.
Nitrogen is the second ingredient.
Yes.
And you also care incredibly for the environment, yes?
Yes.
Which is why you donate to charities.
Yes. Those charities help remove nitrogen from the environment.
And Drufo has little to no risk, correct?
Correct.
Which means that there is still a minor risk that Drufo may be carcinogenic.
No.
So it is your testimony today that Drufo has no risk?
Could you please elaborate on what you mean by risk?
Does your product have any risk, even if that risk is small, Mr. Doncourt?
Risk of what?
Risk that it's carcinogenic.
No.
Was that a no?
Yes, that's a no. As far as I know, no.
So it is your testimony today that your product, Drufo, has no risk of carcinogenicity?
Yes.
Previous to today, you gave a statement regarding this case?
Is that a question?
Yes.
Yes.
And that statement was a sworn statement?
Yes.
And you signed that statement?
Yes.
And you were given an opportunity to review the statement prior to signing it?
Yes.
And you reviewed the statement and determined that it was accurate?
Yes.
And there was nothing that you would change or add?
Yes.
And that it was complete?
Yes.
And that it was truthful?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I constructively show the witness his prior sworn statement?
Yes, you may.
You gave this statement to the court, yes?
Which statement?
Your statement you made prior to today. I don't know if we can screen share the statement. I have the statement with me if you would like me to present it to you, like instead of me being here.
Your Honor, I can pull it up for you if you want.
Okay.
I don't know what section it's at.
That'll be fine.
Just give me a moment. I need to pull it up myself. Your Honor, permission to share my screen?
Please do.
Miss Cat, could you scroll down to, I believe it is page 3 of Mr. Doncourt's statement? Yes, this page, thank you. This is your statement, correct, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes.
And Miss Cat, if you could please scroll down to the bottom. That's your signature, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes.
I'm now going to read what you have previously provided as a sworn testimony under oath from lines 109 to line 110. You said that baking the fertilizer would remove any risk that our fertilizer was carcinogenic. Did I read that correctly, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to unshare my screen, please.
So granted.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Doncourt, remind me again, what percentage of the Lush Fertilizer profits go to charity?
10%.
And your product has been tested by your people and been approved by the EPA.
That is correct.
Thank you. That is it. No.
I'm hearing something in the background. I'm not sure if it's an objection.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. That was from my computer.
Okay, thank you. You may continue.
That is it.
Okay, all right. Any recross?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may start. Thank you.
Now, you would have made $2.6 million from 2004 to 2014 by not baking your Drufo, correct?
That is correct.
And sitting here before you today is Dakota Weirs, who has non-Hodgkin lymphoma, yes?
Yes.
And your company doesn't bake your Drufo?
Yes.
So I asked you, Mr. Doncourt, how many lives is $2.6 million worth?
Sorry, how do you expect me to answer that question?
I guess the answer you provided is fine. No further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Team G, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the defense calls Dr. Devin Williams to the stand.
Yes, you may proceed when ready.
Good morning, Dr. Williams.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name and spell your last for the court?
Dr. Devin Williams, Williams.
What is your current profession?
I'm currently employed by Lush Fertilizer as the outgoing chair of the company's ethics committee. I led Lush Fertilizer's toxicology research and development labs. Essentially, my primary responsibility is to ensure that all products created and distributed by Lush Fertilizer are safe for consumer usage.
How long have you been employed for?
I started my career around 10 years ago, and I continue to lead toxicology labs today.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. I have a PhD at Colorado State University and a specialized post-PhD program in pharmacotoxicology at University of Utah. I used to be an assistant professor of forensic toxicology in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I taught forensic toxicology 1 and 2, principles of forensic toxicology, and toxicology of environmental and occupation chemicals, Tox 213. I was also the chief medical examiner toxicologist of the Larimer County office at Fort Collins, Colorado. I have a curriculum vitae that shows all of my experience.
Your Honor, permission for my co-counsel to screen share so the witness may view a copy of Exhibit 9.
Granted.
Okay. My co-counsel will screen share their screen. Give us 1 second. We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Not a problem, understandable.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Holden, would you mind screen sharing?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Exhibit 9, please.
Have you got it?
Yes, thank you. Your Honor, I am showing to the witness Exhibit 9. Dr. Williams, without going over the contents of this document, can you identify it?
Yes, Exhibit 9. Exhibit 9 is my curriculum vitae.
Is it a true and correct copy?
Yes.
Dr. Williams, would you not change or add anything to this document?
That is correct.
And this is a complete copy?
Yes.
Your Honor, the defense offers Exhibit 9 number into evidence. Its authenticity and accuracy have been shown. Permission to publish to the jury, Your Honor?
Any response to the admission?
Yes, Your Honor. Objection, hearsay.
All right, and response?
It is not hearsay as it provides the curriculum vitae of Dr. Devin Williams, which proves that he is correct to be mentioned as an expert witness.
The objection will be overruled. It will be admitted as Exhibit 9.
Permission to publish to the jury, Your Honor?
So granted.
Thank you. Since you have discussed your education previously, would you read to the jury what is marked on Exhibit 9 as publications and presentations?
Yes, my curriculum vitae marks my publications and presentations with Ion K, Taylor L, Lopez N, Solifer K, Wyatt LA, and Hoshman D. I would title all these works, but they are lengthy in wording.
Mr. Holden, would you mind scrolling down to the publications and presentations part of this exhibit so that the jury may see it? Thank you. Dr. Devin Williams, what is the significance of your CV?
The significance of my CV is to assert that I have vast experience in the field of pharmacology and toxicology, and I've conducted multiple publications and presentations on topics related to my work at Fertilizer. Therefore, I'm a reliable expert witness.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Your Honor, permission to end screen sharing.
So granted.
Mr. Holden, you may now end screen sharing. What are the primary goals of your occupation?
As I lead Lush's toxicology research and development labs, I'm expected to understand the core scientific principles that are essential to knowing how to produce our fertilizer products, such as how biological systems respond to environmental inventions or the types of chemicals and organic compounds.
Can you elaborate on that?
The ability to research and evaluate testing results conducted by our labs is the basis of my occupation. I ensure that all our fertilizer products react well with our consumers' land during all the times of its usage. Furthermore, I'm responsible for determining the possible dangers our products may offer to consumers because of its chemical products, and for halting these dangers through editing the products before they are distributed to our consumers.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. How do you know the plaintiff?
I learned about the plaintiff, Dakota Weirs, when I read the case he had filed against the company that I employed in, Lush Fertilizer.
What is your connection to the case?
As the leader of the toxicology labs at Lush Fertilizer, I am being accused of allowing the release of Lush Fertilizer's products containing Drufo in the United States.
What is your understanding on how this case unfolded?
To my knowledge, Dakota Weirs is suing Lush Fertilizer for causing his non-Hodgkin's lymphoma because of the Drufo chemical that is contained in U.S. distributed Lush products that he was exposed to during his time as a landscape technician at Havens Landscaping. And he claims that Lush Fertilizer's packaging for their product do not include proper hazardous and safety precautions to assist its users in properly using the product. He mentions that Drufo products are included in the US Lush products, while European and Southern American Lush products do not include them.
You mentioned that Dakota's assertions of Drufo being the cause of his non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Dr. Williams, what is Drufo?
Drufo is a revolutionary chemical placed into our fertilizing products meant to allow for the general process of fertilization to be quicker and more efficient. Drufo was established to alleviate the effects of harmful fertilizing processes, or in other words, the toxic process of eutrophication.
What is the eutrophication process?
Eutrophication, in layman's terms, is the process of a buildup of excess nutrients in bodies of water that all trace back to an excess of nitrates. These excess nitrates get brought into these bodies of water by irrigation runoff. The nitrates lead to an algae bloom and the reduction of oxygen within the water, subsequently killing any fish in the water. Some of these algae blooms can even be harmful bacteria to humans.
How does Drufo play a role in this process?
Drufo plays an important role in the eutrophication process because at Lush, we wanted to invent a fertilizer that would reduce the amount of excess nitrates that were produced by fertilizers. This is exactly what it did. It's a revolutionary product which binds to the ingredients in the fertilizer and the plants it's sprayed on, resulting in less fertilizer sprayed, less washes away, and completely denies the process of eutrophication before it can begin. I can give a much more detailed and complex explanation, but I'll need to use words such as coagulated hydroxylapatite and phosphate precipitate. I mean, you don't get a PhD for nothing.
I see. What role did Drufo play in Dakota's suffering of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
I do not believe that the addition of Drufo and US Lush products had any role in the development of Dakota's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Why do you think so?
Statistically, the usage of Drufo has not once been correlated with any significant increases of incidences of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or any other cancer type really. We have gathered and analyzed research that shows the association of Drufo with higher non-Hodgkin lymphoma and have seen that Drufo did not cause an alleviated risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as compared to users of other fertilizer brands.
Dr. Devin Williams, who is the right person from Lush to be inquired about this case?
I believe that as the coordinator of the toxicology research and development labs at Lush Fertilizer and as the outgoing chair of the company's ethics committee, I was the correct person to inquire about this process.
What exactly is the correlation to the banning of Drufo in the European continent in this case?
Mr. Dakota Weirs asserts that the Lush product from the US that he had been exposed to had caused his non-Hodgkin's lymphoma because Drufo is banned in the European continent.
Why is Drufo banned in Europe and around South America?
The ban of Drufo in countries around Europe and Southern America, according to the European Union's nitrate directive, was because no new fertilizer formulations may be used that contribute more than incidental nitrate accumulation in lab tests. Because Drufo includes more nitrogen than permitted in these countries, it has been banned. It is just prohibited because you do not reduce the amount of nitrates under unrealistic laboratory conditions.
Why is it not banned in the United States then?
Because in real world conditions, it still greatly reduces the amount of nitrates that can accumulate. I can confidently say that Drufo ban in European countries and Southern America is not based on any concerns over cancer.
All right, moving on, let's address the packaging of Lush fertilizer. What are your thoughts on Dakota Weir's claim of Lush fertilizer's packaging not including any precautionary measures?
I believe that the package did contain safety precautions that the plaintiff failed to follow.
Why do you believe so?
In Exhibit 1, which showcases the packaging of Lush Fertilizer's products, precautionary measures are included. He mentions that the primary reason for his exposure to the Drufo product in Lush's products is because of the inability of Lush Fertilizer to provide precautionary measures for proper usage in the workforce. However, Exhibit 1 clearly shows that both hazards and user safety recommendations are included in the packaging of Lush Fertilizer's product.
Thank you. Please let the record reflect that opposing counsel has previously been copied with a copy of Exhibit 1. Your Honor, permission for my co-counsel to screen share so the witness may view a copy of Exhibit 1.
So granted.
Okay, my co-counsel will share the screen. Perfect. I'm showing you a copy of Lush Fertilizer's packaging, which is written in every packaging of the product marked as Exhibit 1. Could you please read to the court the portion marked as on Exhibit 1 as hazards?
Yes. Caution, causes eye irritation. Avoid contact with eyes or clothing.
Please read to the court the portion of the packaging marked on Exhibit 1 as user safety recommendations.
As with any spray fertilizer, utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin. Use of a respirator or N95 mask is recommended. Follow manufacturer's instructions for cleaning/maintaining personal protective equipment. Users should wash hands before and after use of this product.
Dr. Devin Williams, what is the significance of Exhibit 1?
As Exhibit 1 shows that preventive measures are clearly on the packaging of Lush Fertilizer's product, Exhibit 1 asserts that Dakota Weir's claim of the poor packaging being a factor in his exposure is simply untrue.
Your Honor, permission to end screen sharing. Moving on, let's discuss Dr. Rogers. Who is Dr. Rogers?
Dr. Rogers is a researcher who published a study on the effects of Drufo on casual gardeners versus farm laborers versus people that didn't do either.
Why is Dr. Rogers important in this case?
Dr. Rogers is important to this case because his study finds evidence against the use of Drufo in fertilizer.
What are the flaws of their study?
His study has not been peer-reviewed, and this displays the lack of credibility of this study. To further prove my point, his study is flawed due to the fact he compared completely different environments to each other. Dr. Rogers' career has been focused on finding harmful effects caused by chemical agents.
Finally, what do you want to testify today?
I want to testify today because I truly believe that Drufo didn't have any part in causing the plaintiff's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I admit that I have a financial bias in the outcome of this case, but Dr. Rogers' financial bias is essentially greater.
Thank you, Dr. Devin Williams. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you may proceed when you're ready.
Good morning, Dr. Williams. My name is Jason Lee, and I'll be asking you a few questions today.
Good morning.
You are a research toxicologist for Lush Fertilizer, is that correct?
Yes, I'm the lead toxicologist.
And you have led the toxicology labs at Lush for 7 years now?
Yes, 7 years.
So you understand how the human body reacts to toxins?
Yes, I do understand that.
And
Objection leading.
Your Honor, this is cross-examination. I'm allowed to ask leading questions.
Oh, all right.
The objection is overruled.
May I proceed?
You may proceed, yes.
And so because you lead the toxicology labs at Lush, you would understand how the human body reacts to toxins?
Yes, I would know how that substance is going to harm the average human and how to neutralize that harm if it happens.
And you know how to test for toxicity in chemicals?
Yes.
You see yourself as having a responsibility to look past current project objectives and look to ask the big questions. Is that correct?
Principally, I am data-driven.
And you also led the ethics committee for Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I do.
So you understand the value of integrity?
Yes, I do.
So you would never lie about test results.
No, I would not.
You were first employed at Lush as a technician, is that correct?
Yes.
And only later you were in charge of the labs?
Yeah, later I was promoted to lead the labs.
When you joined Lush, half of the research and development team had left the company, correct?
Yes, they moved on to ventures outside the company.
And that rapid turnover had caused some projects to be rushed to completion?
Maybe, but we still take our time with every single one of our experiments.
So there was a higher chance for mistakes.
Well, we still checked with other researchers and we did multiple experiments.
Your toxicology tests on Drufo were performed in-house?
Yes, we performed them ourselves.
And those same tests did not reveal a cancer risk for Drufo?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
And your toxicology tests performed in-house did not reveal a cancer risk for Drufo?
Well, we are still finishing our studies.
Is that a yes or is that a no?
I do not know yet, as our studies are not concluded yet.
Does Drufo contain nitrates?
Yes.
And Drufo is banned in the EU.
I'm so sorry, my internet is unstable. Could you repeat the question?
Drufo is banned in the EU, is that correct?
Yes.
And you believe this is because of nitrate accumulation?
Yes, and it has no relation to cancer risks.
And if a US court found that Drufo causes cancer, there would be no chance to ever sell it in the EU?
Yes, although we still sell Lush products in the EU.
And if you win the suit, you plan to appeal the EU's decision to ban Drufo?
Yes, because why would we not? Because we want the best for our consumers.
So then you could and would sell Drufo in the EU?
Yes, because Drufo is a revolutionary product and it would be best for consumers.
I would imagine that would result in more money for Lush, right?
I am not sure.
So you would do anything to keep this lawsuit from going badly against Lush?
No, because we would still have our Lush products in the EU and other places just without the use of Drufo.
But you do have a definite financial bias?
Yes, although other people in this case is greater than mine, especially Dr. Casey Rogers.
And you maintain that Drufo does not cause cancer?
Yes, it's too statistically low to have a correlation.
Are you aware of a peer-reviewed study in the EU that showed increased cancer risk with exposure to Drufo?
Yes.
So even though you were aware of the fact that Drufo causes cancer, you still decided to put it on the market?
That's because it's revolutionary and there's not a statistically correlation between Drufo and the causation of cancer.
So you knowingly put a dangerous product into consumers' hands?
Well, it's for the best of the consumer as there's less sprays and less washes away in the soil, and it would be the best fertilizer for them.
But if Drufo was known to be a carcinogen, you would agree that there should be a warning on the packaging.
And there was a warning.
But not that it was a carcinogen.
There was not that it was a carcinogen.
As an academic, you understand the importance of being peer-reviewed, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you are critical of Dr. Rogers' study because it has not been peer-reviewed yet, is that correct?
Yes, it has not been peer-reviewed yet.
Has your study on the risks of Drufo been published at all?
No, because we have not finished it.
So it couldn't have been peer-reviewed at all?
Well, we have not finished this study, so of course it could not have been peer-reviewed.
And since nobody outside the company has seen any of your methods or the people that you've tested with, we don't know the validity of your testing methods, is that correct?
Well, we're still finishing our study, so.
So we don't have any results from it?
No, not as now.
But when your study does come out, you certainly would agree that if it showed there was a cancer risk for Drufo, you would pull it from the market and immediately put a warning on all packaging.
Yes, we would.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Team G, do you have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Now is the portion of the trial where we will proceed to closing arguments. As I stated, the closing arguments, each team has 5 minutes. On Team H, your 5 minutes is split between your closing argument and your rebuttal closing arguments. You have 5 minutes total for both. And Team H, you may be, I'm sorry?
May I take a moment to fetch my closing argument from my desk?
Yes, go ahead, but be quick, okay?
I'm ready.
You may begin whenever you're ready.
Your Honor, I would like to reserve any remaining time for a rebuttal.
So granted.
May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Jason Lee, and along with my co-counsel, Gavin Almoody and Erica Danzer, we represent the plaintiff, Dakota Weirs. Ladies and gentlemen, Lush was rushed in more ways than one. You've just been shown all of the evidence for the case of Mr. Weirs' non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. You've been told that the defendant, Lush Fertilizer, manufactured a chemical known as Drufo. You've been told that Lush rushed their studies on Drufo. You've been told that shortly before Dr. Williams joined Lush, fully half of the research and development team had left the company. Which begs the question, why did they leave? Was it because they didn't have faith in their product or the integrity of their employer? Furthermore, Lush rushed Drufo to the market. In doing so, they ignored their own study results showing that Drufo causes cancer, just so that they could make profits quickly. And if Lush wins this lawsuit, they plan to sell Drufo in the EU, where they can give even more people cancer. Lush is trying to make themselves out to be the good guy, but that really isn't the case. They are only out to make a quick buck. You've been told that Lush is a humanitarian company, that they have won many awards for helping to reduce environmental pollution. You should remember, though, awards don't mean they aren't profit-driven. They are a commercial company out to make money. In fact, they may be trying to distract your attention from their own dangerous products. You've been told that Drufo is a pesticide. By their very definition, pesticides kill living organisms. Lush Fertilizer does not have a medical doctor who is willing to testify as to the safety of Drufo. Yes, their hired gun chemist says it is safe, but I ask you, what does a chemist know about what cancer looks like? Skylar Weirs, a key witness for the defense, is purported to be an expert, yet they have no training in chemistry, toxicology, or medicine, nor do they have any credentials. Today you heard Skylar Weirs give his opinion on Agritech and Drufo, but they were never qualified as an expert, so can we really trust their opinion? They say that they spent less than a year researching for their series of articles on Drufo, and yet they claim to know more than most other experts, many of whom have PhDs who have spent decades researching hazardous chemicals. Furthermore, they provide no citations for their research and don't credit any of their sources. How are we to know that their sources are reputable? We have shown that Lush failed to exercise reasonable care to prevent the product from creating an unreasonable risk of harm to persons who might have reasonably been expected to use the product in a manner which the defendant might have reasonably foreseen. We have shown that Dakota Weirs was one of those people. We have shown that Mr. Weirs' negligence, if any, was less than that of the defendant, and that Mr. Weirs' negligence, and that Mr. Weirs' damages were caused by Lush's negligence. We have shown that 1, Lush Fertilizer manufactured a chemical known as Drufo. This was never in question. We have shown that 2, Lush knew about the risks of Drufo and failed to adequately warn consumers. We have shown that 3, Lush, knowing the risks, did nothing to alleviate it. Now, members of the jury, in today's case, we as the plaintiff have the burden of proof of proving negligence by a preponderance of the evidence. This means that we have to show that it was more likely or not, or 51%. We have done that through the 3 witnesses that we have called. We have shown that Lush Fertilizer knew that Drufo would be harmful to the user. We have shown that Lush failed to prevent the risk of Drufo causing cancer. We have shown that Dakota Weirs suffered because of Lush Fertilizer's negligence. Members of the jury, I urge you to give a verdict in favor of Dakota Weirs, whose life and livelihood has been decimated by a dangerous product produced by Lush Fertilizer. Thank you.
And thank you. And Team G, do you have a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Francesca Bolastig, representing the defense in this case, with my co-counsels Joshua Holden and Katrina Ryashinsheva. We are representing the defendant, Lush Fertilizer. What we have here is a breakthrough product that could significantly increase crop yield and decrease pesticide use. Drufo bonds to both the grass and Lush Fertilizer's active ingredients and prevents these from being washed away as quickly, resulting in less application frequency to achieve optimum yield. This advancement is so groundbreaking that vested interests that will be negatively affected by this development have put up concerted efforts to discredit Drufo and without basis brand it as carcinogenic. Throughout this trial, nothing has been offered in evidence that conclusively establishes a causal link between Drufo's and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which the plaintiff is suffering from. We commiserate with the plaintiff's condition and we wish her a speedy recovery, but it would be the absolute height of injustice to fault Drufo for her ailment when there is simply no conclusive proof that Drufo caused her ailment. It is clear for the reason that Drufo is not used in Europe is not because it causes cancer, but simply because under the European Union's nitrate directive, no new fertilizer formulations may be used that contribute more than incidental nitrate accumulation in lab tests. There is no single peer-reviewed study or research that conclusively proves that Drufo causes cancer in humans. The testimony of Dr. Rogers linking Drufo to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cannot be relied upon as a basis to establish a causal link between Drufo and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma because it has not been peer-reviewed and has been subjected to rigorous scrutiny by the scientific community. Further, there is no basis to the allegation that there is no sufficient warning in the packaging of Drufo. We have presented in evidence Drufo's packaging label, Exhibit 1, which clearly instructs user to 1. Avoid contact with eyes and clothing, and 2. Utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin. These instructions were also reiterated to the complainant by his supervisors. Sadly, based on the complainant's own admission, he did not use any facial covering or protective clothing, despite the warnings and instructions given to him. Furthermore, there is no basis to the contention that the company is at fault for not writing in the packaging label precautionary warnings that Drufo causes cancer for the simple reason that there is simply no conclusive and peer-reviewed study or any mandate by any regulatory body that requires Lush Fertilizer to do so. The Environmental Protection Agency certainly has not come out with a mandate that requires a warning on packaging labels regarding Drufo. Hence, Lush Fertilizer cannot be faulted for not doing so. On another point, it is important to note that the complainant stopped handling Lush Fertilizer almost 4 years prior to the onset of her ailment, which she continued to handle other fertilizers during this time. Surely, a significant amount of time has elapsed since she last handled Lush Fertilizer, for the latter to be the proximate cause of his ailment. To recap, we have sufficiently established there has been no conclusive and peer-reviewed study that Drufo is carcinogenic and causes non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Not even our own EPA has declared it as carcinogenic and required warnings in packaging labels to that effect. Finally, it bears reiterating that there has been no evidence that presented that the complainant's handling of Lush Fertilizer is the proximate cause of her non-Hodgkin lymphoma. While we certainly wish for the complainant's speedy recovery, we cannot impute her ailment to Lush Fertilizer and make the latter liable to her. For these reasons, after you have heard all the evidence at the end of this trial, we will ask you to return a verdict in favor of the defense. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Team G, any closing? Oh, I'm sorry, Team H, any rebuttal closing?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you may proceed.
Members of the jury, you have been told that there is no peer-reviewed study that demonstrates a causal link between exposure to Drufo and cancer. This is completely false. We have shown that Exhibit 3 is a study that was performed in the EU, and It demonstrates a causal link between exposure to Drufo and cancer. Might I add, it has been fully peer-reviewed and has been available to the public for well over a decade. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the evidentiary portion of this. What we're going to do is we're going to give the scorers time to complete and turn in their sheets. So the scores, please take your time. However long you need is perfectly fine. Just let us know when you're done, and we'll go on to the chat session. Thank you.
And Judge Peters, if you want to start your comments to the kids, you're welcome to do that while we wait for the scoring panelists.
Oh, thank you. That's a good idea.
Yes, sir.
I want to let everybody know on both teams that this is very good. I can tell that everybody, including your witnesses, were very knowledgeable of the facts and the patterns and everything of everything here. It's very refreshing to see teams that where they don't have to stumble about what the testimony is. And I'm not saying any other team does that. It's rare and everything. I haven't seen it in this competition this time around yet. So I want to congratulate you on your preparation. Also, I want to make sure, before I forget, I want to make sure that everybody on every team understands that when an objection was made and I made a ruling, I made the rulings based on everybody being able to present their case. So do not, if I ruled against you, do not feel that you were wrong. There's just as good of a chance that you were 100% right, but I had to deny your motion or your objection to allow the other team to be able to present their case. So bottom line is, do not change your strategy or anything like that based on any of my rulings. If you feel a need to be changed and everything, do that with the consultation of your coaches and others, not based on anything I said on here. Now, the only thing I will mention is that Team G, according to my records, you never moved to admit Dr. Williams as an expert in the field. If I don't believe I missed that, but if I did, I apologize for that. But that's something that you may want to consider for the future. But this is a very civil trial. Anybody who's been around trials and stuff for quite a few years knows that it can get very heated in courtrooms, especially in certain areas of the law. I've seen it as in my career as a defense attorney and now as a judge in several municipal courts and everything, that sometimes it can get very heated in there. But I liked how when things got a little contentious that both teams and everything kept their cool and kept their demeanor and acted very professionally. I thank you for that. I don't believe I have any other comments other than to say I think it was a very good job by both sides, and I congratulate you on participating at this and making it to this round. And I wish both of you luck on going to the next round, but I know unfortunately one of you will not. So thank you.
I just wanted to check in with the scoring panelists. Are they still working or have they submitted their scores to the bar?
Mine are in.
I've submitted.
All right. And was it Judge Peters also scoring, or was there a third panelist? May I ask?
No, there was a third panelist. I was waiting to see if we heard from the third person.
Okay. Hopefully there was a third person.
I hope so. I was never told that I was scoring. In fact,
I think
we have,
Bailey was our third scorer.
Okay. Is she still here?
Yeah, she just put in the chat, she submitted hers, but she doesn't think her mic is working.
Ah, I
Oh.
see. All right, let me just check with the bar then. Whenever you're ready, Judge Peters, to let the panelists give their final comments. It looks like that may be easy for Bailey, who's going to be chatting it.
all right. Yes, panelists, now's your opportunity. This is the chat session. If you'd like to speak to the contestants and the witnesses and the attorneys, and everybody else about constructive criticism about what you liked and what you could see, what you would like to see that they do a little bit better, please. And I'll ask that you keep your comments to just a few minutes. Thank you. So whoever wants to start, go right ahead.
Sure. I'll just mention briefly for everybody, because I know you've got the second round coming up. I do echo what Judge Peters says. You guys had a great mastery of the information. This is a highly technical case. There was a lot of stuff to remember, both as witnesses and as lawyers, and you all did great with that. And I really applaud how well you rolled with all of the tech issues. It really seemed smooth. It didn't throw you guys off your game. That's a unique component to this that you all did very well with. So overall, I thought the presentation was great. I echo Judge Peters on the professionalism piece. That was really strong from both teams. I will suggest, as one piece of potentially constructive criticism for the final round, feel free to object more, both sides. There were lots of opportunities that were there, and that can be one of the hardest things to do as lawyers, is sort of jump in there with the objection, but feel free to do more of that to the extent you see those opportunities. But great job overall, both teams. Thank you.
Go ahead. I'll go next. I echo what everyone was saying about professionalism. I also want to add that it was good to see that you guys are working with the other team, sharing your screen with the other person to have ready. That was very professional, very kind of you as well. So keep doing that. That's a good thing to do. If you do become attorneys, it's a small community, so working with them as much as possible is a good thing, a good practice pointer. Also very good is kind of addressing the bad parts of your case, the baking ahead of time, the money biases ahead of time, things like that, so you weren't surprised when the other side brings it up. The other side's still going to hit hard on it, but it's not going to be a surprise hearing it for the first time as a juror. As far as constructive feedback, expert testimony and qualifying someone as an expert in voir direing could have been smoother. And I think Judge Peters mentioned that as well, as far as making sure that you follow the processes and qualifying them. Good objecting when you do object and knowing the rules of evidence, and good trying to impeach, and all that process. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot to have in your back pocket in case it comes up. But I will echo also what Sarah was saying, as far as you can object more if it's going in a direction where it shouldn't be going. Overall, very good. Good rolling with the technical difficulties and everything as well. And once it kind of got started and everything, technical difficulties died down a little bit too. So that was nice to see. I think once people started working together and once we got going, it actually went pretty smoothly. So good job with that.
Judge Peters, I think you're talking to us, but we've got you on mute.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I like to mute when other people are talking. Okay, this is from Bailey Limbaugh, I'm sure you could read it on the chat, but I'll go ahead and read it also. Is I think you all did a good job. I was impressed by the professionalism on both sides. I would agree with what the other panelists have said. You all were very sure of your case, which showed how much time and effort you put into it. So that seems to be the end of our chat session. I want to once again just thank everybody for participating. The panelists, the scorekeepers, the courtroom moderator, everybody. Thank you. A lot of effort went into this, and I believe this is the first when we're doing the competition strictly by Zoom and all that stuff. I know they had one last year, but I didn't participate. Now I think it was kind of a hybrid. I think last year, but want to thank everybody for I've seen. Once again, echo the thing. Everybody worked really good with the technical difficulties about ways to overcome it, and that's going to help you if you go into law. Because let me tell you, any attorney can tell you who's been around a while and everything. Things don't go the way you want it in court. Your computer won't fire up. Your flash drive won't work or whatever and stuff. So you have to be ready to overcome them. And every single one of you have done a perfect job of overcoming those issues. Thank you. And Mr. Moderator, is there anything more, or does everybody leave the meeting now?
Well, we just want to thank all of you, as Judge Peters just did on behalf of the Arapahoe County Bar, for your participation. That's not only to you, Judge Peters, but to our scoring panelists. Thank you so much for your volunteerism. Thank you for your patience with us as we work through these virtual issues. It sounds like these kids got some great comments from the scoring panelists as well as Judge Peters. For the kids, they're welcome to log off and look for the next round assignments. It's going to take us a while to get through the scores. There are still some courtrooms that are not done. Hopefully we'll be as close to on time as we can be, but you can get some lunch. As again, for the scoring panelists, unless you're signed up for the last round, thank you so much for your volunteerism. Thank you for helping these great kids. And to all the kids, good luck on the next round. I will end the meeting now. You're welcome to log off as you wish. Thank you again, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. And
Thank you
so
so
much,
Thank you, everyone.